respectful of your time as I can, just say, hey, got to get going, Squirrel. Been great. To give us a nudge when you need to go. All right. I think we might have people on. So glad to have everybody. And as everybody joins, I'll say hello to those watching this on a recording. So you might be on the Squirrel Squadron forum, or you might be on YouTube or anywhere else. We've got snazzy new look on YouTube. So tell us what you think of that. And glad to have you, whether you're live, in which case we'd love to hear from you and what brought you here, or if you're listening on the recording. If you don't know where you are or why you're here, I'm Squirrel. Yes, that's actually my name. And this is the Squirrel Squadron Forum. And here on the forum, we get people together who are technical and non-technical, and we figure out how they can collaborate together. And I just said it's the forum. We call it the Squirrel Squadron, which is the group. And then the forum is an online community where people discuss and talk about these important kinds of issues and figure out new ideas. And I give lots of my iconoclastic opinions. And then there's these weekly events, and that's what you've come to today is our latest live stream. And this one is on the mysterious topic of search engine optimization. And I have a world-class guest with me, Eli, who I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Glad to have you, Eli. Excellent. And I just want to mention that we have more of these coming up. So, for example, I'm in Miami next week live. So if anybody's near Miami, I hear it's nice there. Please come by and say hello. Eli, are you going to that event in Miami? Oh, Eli's covered his screen. Oh, Eli has disappeared. He's disconnected. We've lost Eli. Okay, well, I will continue with the update, and we'll see what happens to Eli. He may have eaten his microphone or something else. I saw something happening with his screen. So who knows? Technical difficulties, always challenging. So let me continue saying a bit about what's happening. So I'm, as I say, going to be in Miami next week. And in Miami, let's see if I can add Eli back. He's come back on. There we go. Eli, everything okay?
I don't know what happened to the camera. It's still blinking. Hold on.
Don't sweat. Don't sweat. You're here. We see you. We see a green screen behind you, but we know what you look like.
I don't know why it's blinking. I just switched cameras. I've got a fancy 4K camera on right now, and it's still blinking.
Amazing. I would tell you what was going on if not. I have a new camera, so I would debug it for you if I knew. I just plugged mine in and it worked. So that's the extent of my hardware knowledge. Hey, your green screen is back. Okay. I'm going to carry on with my little introduction. Briefly say that we have an event next week in Miami. Love to see anybody in person there. Then we have events on living without estimates. So how can you have a tech team that doesn't estimate anything and is super productive? That's with Vasco Duarte. And the week after that, we're talking about discarding your training budget. How can you not have any training, not have any hackathons, but still have an incredibly skilled team? So those are the sorts of things we talk about. We have them every week, and I'd love to see you at one of those. Get in touch at squirrelsquadron.com. And I'll let Laura maybe stick that in the comments so we can put it up here for you if you're interested in getting in touch there. And of course, we'll give lots of information about Eli because he's our fascinating guest today. Eli, would you like to give a quick introduction to yourself and where you came from and how you got into this mysterious thing called SEO?
Yeah. Hey, thank you for having me, Squirrel. It's great to be here and great to be with whoever is on live and going to be watching this on recording.
Please introduce yourselves in the comments. Say what brought you here, what makes you interested in this topic. Ask us questions. These go better, and we get better results if you ask lots of questions. So please do. Sometimes people do, sometimes they don't, Eli, but we'll see what happens.
Love to see everyone, and I'm so sorry for this flashing. I don't know why it's flashing.
We don't see it, Eli. Don't worry about it. You look a little bit green, so that's the only different.
Then I'm gonna fix that. Okay, when I'm done talking, I'll fix that. So I am a growth advisor. I work with companies and helping them to strategize their SEO opportunities to really understand whether they have an opportunity, and that's absolutely not a given. 2/3 of the companies I talk to, I tell them that they shouldn't be spending any time whatsoever in SEO, and we'll dig into who SEO is not a fit for.
And just start, because some of my audience may not actually know, what does SEO stand for and what is it?
Oh, okay. That's a great first question. So SEO is search engine optimization. If anybody digs into finance a little bit and look at Google's earnings, Google earns about $200 billion per year from advertising.
A little down this year, but they're still massive.
A little bit down, but $200 billion.
Yeah, but more than most countries. Go ahead.
Exactly. And if you go onto Google and you search for something, At the top are those ads, and that's what they're generating $200 billion from, and they're all labeled with a thing that says ads on it. And beneath that are organic results. So the click-through rate on those ads, it ranges anywhere from 10 to 20%. So let's go with 20%. So 5x that amount of traffic is not going to the ads. That's going to the organic results. So the value of that market, I think, is in the multiple trillions, but we can go with trillion if you just want to do 5x. And search engine optimization is really optimizing your visibility within that. So
because most people never go off the first page, right? They just get the first 2 or 3. They go, this one looks good, and they go buy it.
Exactly. So
that's what I did with my webcam, right? I just got the first one, like, oh, this seems good enough, off.
Oh, I have a sponsored webcam from a great company called Lumina. I see Martin says my bandwidth's not good enough for 4K, but it is a 4K webcam, and it's supposed to make me look really good.
You look great to me. Keep going.
I look great to myself too, except for the flashing. So search engine optimization is really optimizing your visibility within those results. And it's not about, if for anybody that's had any background, it's not about you picking keywords and making sure you rank high enough on the keywords. It's really about driving traffic and revenue from this channel. So that's what I do as an advisor. I work with companies helping them to strategize that. I wrote a book called Product-Led SEO, which is my approach towards SEO and really think about SEO as a broad acquisition channel rather than, again, focused on keywords. And prior to being a consultant, I spent about 15 years in-house in a bunch of different companies helping to build out channels in SEO and managing teams in SEO. It took a little tangent and went to Asia and managed an Asian marketing team. And it scaled up SurveyMonkey's, where I worked before, their presence in APAC. And other than that, most of my career has always been focused on SEO. And in that, I've helped drive billions of dollars in revenue from this channel. And now as an advisor, I try to do the same with the clients I work with, ideally larger companies that have those opportunities for 7, 8 figure, 9, 10 figure from acquisition from this channel. But either way, happy to dig into anything on SEO, and anyone can reach out to me. I'll drop my email address on my LinkedIn in the comments, and love to hear from anyone.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. Make sure it's clear for everyone on the recording as well. So don't worry. Definitely want you to talk more to Eli, because I've learned a lot from him about how to market my services, which is really powerful. And Eli, I'm curious if I'm going to get all this value, and I'm going to see all these fantastic results. But you say that I could get that, but only in 1/3 of the cases. How do I know if I'm in the 2/3 where this isn't going to help me, where it's no good to do?
So, solid question. So answer number 1, you reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about that. But that's not scalable. I'm just kidding. The better way is really to think about this as an acquisition channel. You're acquiring customers from this channel. So many people watching this, many people that will watch this in the recording, it does not occur to them to advertise during the World Cup. It's something that people do. You could put your logo on the backs of, here in the US, we call it soccer players, but I think you guys call it something different. You could put your logo on the back of the players. You could put your logo in the stadium. You could advertise on TV. You can participate in the games with advertising. But most of the people will think that's an insane idea. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you advertise to a global audience if you are a local-based business? Your geography doesn't make sense. Your product doesn't make sense. SEO is the same thing. Should be doing SEO if you can conceive of an SEO customer coming from this channel. If your customer is not going to come from this channel, so at a very high level, let's talk about ages, for example. 40% of Gen Z does not use SEO or search right now. They use different things. They use TikTok. They use Instagram. They use word of mouth. They're also a little bit younger. Maybe they're not using search at all. Maybe they don't own their own phones. If that's your client base, that's your customer base, maybe you don't invest your dollars in SEO. Older people in their 80s, may not be using Google. They may be using Bing. So why would you focus on Google? So it's really, that's how you decide. You don't need to say, well, I should do SEO just because SEO exists. I have a website, therefore I need customers to come to me from the internet. If customers do not come to you from the internet, why would you bother going online and doing search? Great example of somebody that I don't think should necessarily be doing SEO in the classic sense. Very, very local-based businesses like restaurants or movers or doctor's offices. Yes, you should do a very little bit of SEO. So when someone Googles or Bings or DuckDuckGoes the name of your business, they can find you. However, you don't.
But those are people who already know you. They aren't discovering you that way. So
Correct.
that's, I think, a really helpful distinction.
You don't need a comprehensive website that explains how moving a piano works, or how what a dentist does when they fill a tooth, or what your menu, what the ingredients are in your menu. So again,
because I already want to go to the restaurant, I just want to find out where it is, and there exactly. I don't need to. You don't need to be on the right ranking page. I'm going to type in the name of the restaurant.
Exactly, and Google My Business, your places page on Maps does just fine.
And the other place I see that a lot, and where I see people spending a lot on marketing, and it never makes any sense to me, is when they're doing business to business, very heavy B2B, often quite in the back end, because they're talking to me. I have a client I'm looking at right now who provides tremendous information in a specialist insurance sector. So if you're in this sector, if you do this kind of thing and you need insurance for it, then you go to them, and they're the world-class experts who know everything about this part of insurance. But folks like that already either know them or don't. They're not going to the web to say, gosh, I wonder who in my specialist little corner of the world, who would be the best insurer for me. That's a very rare thing. And I wouldn't expect them to do any search engine optimization, because their people are not searching. Does that match your understanding, Eli?
Exactly. Yes. It really has to match your customer. You need to conceive of how it is that someone's going to be finding you. And if they're going to be finding you, you want to be visible for that. But you don't need to just be visible for the sake of being visible.
Fantastic. Okay, and I'll just say hi to Martin, who's commented, and let us know what he does. So, Martin, I think you're in exactly this kind of space. So you're doing people who are software as a service, typically business to business, I think. That's, for instance, where I've worked with you, I think, if I remember correctly. And so I wouldn't expect that your clients are deep users of SEO. On the other hand, there's some level of discoverability in software as a service, because it's typically quite a competitive market. So there might be 2 or 3 they're competing for certain users, and then they might want to be at the top. They might want to be ahead of the other guys when someone searches for, I know there are 3 who do this. Which one should I look at? Eli, would that be useful if you've got a tight market with a few players? Would being ahead of the others be worth looking at?
Not necessarily. I really like to think of what is the process for someone to go and hire Martin. And the best way to understand the process for that is to look at your past experiences and to talk to your customers. So if your customers all hire people like you by asking their network on LinkedIn, then that is where you should invest your resources. If your customers all go on Instagram and they scroll through the feed and they click on ads, then that is where you should invest your resources. So it's really about being where your customers are. For my own consulting business, I've been doing this for a bunch of years. I finally got around to making an Airtable of every conversation I've ever had, and I write down where the conversation came from. I've discovered what my best lead source was, and it's not what I thought. My best lead source ends up being cold LinkedIn messages with someone just kind of looking to learn more about SEO. Yes, I get great referrals from amazing venture capitalists. I get great referrals from my network, but it happens to be, when I look at the data, LinkedIn is one of the best sources for me. So why would I not spend more time and more effort on promoting that source when it actually works? And I'd say the same applies for the way you're going to think about SEO. If, yes, you get some customers from SEO, yes, you will always get customers from SEO, but if it's not your best source, then why would you put your best effort into it? So as an example, we talked a little bit about B2B and SaaS. I don't think that the best source and the best resource for conversions for SaaS comes from search. I know that whenever I have this conversation, the SaaS founders will say, but we get all these conversions from this blog post. Okay, great. I'm not going to deny that happens. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact I don't even know. However, it's not necessarily replicable. So yes, you have that one blog post. Does that mean you can now make 30 of those blog posts and you're going to get 30 times the traffic?
Because typically they'll tell you, the 29 before that one didn't go anywhere, and therefore we don't have the magic formula for getting more of those.
Right.
One of my favorite examples of this is
on a go forward. On a go forward, you want to put your resources where your resources should be.
Fantastic. Sorry to talk over you. I was just
No
going to
worries.
cite an example of a different circumstance. The company that has the Will It Blend series, they tried a bunch of other things before that, if I remember correctly, and nobody watched those videos. They were interested in finding something that could work, and they happened to find one that lots of people watch, and then they could do the formula. I can blend this or I can blend that, and that worked for them. Most people don't have that kind of formula. They just have something that works once, and they can't replicate it. Makes sense. Good stuff. And Martin agrees with us. He says that his companies tend to go email to link to landing page, which is much more likely to be successful. And all you need there is that kind of validation. Who was that people I was talking to yesterday? It was something like, that for me, they might say, oh, yeah, is it hamster? Is it rodent? Or who was it? And, oh, yeah, it was squirrel. So as long as I am somewhere in the list and people can find me and they're looking for me, I'm okay. But how about Eli?
I mean, this will help you feel better about this, Squirrel, but I am pretty sure that if you build a brand under the word Squirrel Consulting and Squirrel Tech Consulting, you don't have to worry about whether someone looks for a gerbil or a hamster or a rat.
not too often. Yep, I do get mixed up sometimes, but not usually that way.
Yes,
but
Google will fix that. An example I have.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, I love looking at this for TV shows and movies. So everyone knows the movie Legally Blonde. She has blonde hair, right? You don't have to remember the name of the school. But if you Google movie with brunette, she's not blonde, she's brunette, that went to Yale, and I think in Legally Blonde, she went to Harvard, you will get results for Legally Blonde. Google knows. They fixed it for you. And the same goes, I was giving an example. You can describe what happens in a TV show. So I can't even remember the name of the TV show, but I remember the attributes. There's a TV show, a Spanish TV show about robbers. I think it's called Money Heist or something on Netflix. You put that into Google. I'm looking for Spanish TV show about bank robbers. Google will give you the top result with Netflix for that show. So like I said, Squirrel, like if someone's like, it was a rodent and he does tech consulting, Google's got your back.
Google's going to find me somehow. Good stuff. But one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about was accountability for the people who do have this. So when you do have somebody who's doing this for you, and we've decided that it actually is relevant, and I imagine for many of the folks who've come along to watch us today, it is relevant. They've decided, yeah, I've talked to my customers. My customers do search. It's relevant to me. I should be doing this. Then they have a different problem. And they hire somebody to come and do this for them. They probably Googled for them, and they might or might not have found you. But if they haven't found you, then they find somebody else who says, no, worry, I can come do all kinds of magic and make sure you're number one on your Google results. And then they aren't number one. And then they pay some more money and they still aren't number one. And then they pay some more money and they still aren't number one. And the person keeps saying, you need to do more magic. Here's more that you have to do. The accountability seems to be missing. And I think that's an area where you've really made a big contribution. What should people do if they're saying, as they often do about tech teams, and they complain to me about people who are writing their code and their website and so on. Hey, wait a minute. I don't know what those guys are doing. It's a black box.
So this is the part that I advocate the most for in SEO. And I think the part that's missing with anybody that's working with most agencies out there, which is they have not asked that first question we've been discussing, which is, do people use SEO? Is this a channel for you? So now, if you've answered that question in the affirmative, yes, they will be using search to find my business. Now your follow-on question is how? So how are they going to find me? What are the things that I need to do to be found in the ways that I think I need to be found? And off of that, you can build a strategy. And that's the thing I advocate for, which is SEO needs a strategy. You can't just say, well, SEO exists, so now I'm going to go to an SEO tool and I'm going to go find my keywords and I'm going to write content and then I've checked my box. No, that doesn't make any sense. You want to say, this is how they're going to find me. They're looking for this kind of service, so therefore I need to describe this kind of service for them. So when they have this need, they will find me and I will solve that need for them. So that part is missing. So the accountability part is missing. Most of the agencies that people will hire are going to do things like write a lot of content. They will do things like give them an SEO audit. What an SEO audit is it's like you go to the doctor. The doctor tells you all the things that are wrong with you and the things that you could do better. And next year you come back and the doctor will say the same things again, because it's not motivating enough. You You don't feel like biking 30 miles a week, so you don't bike 30 miles a week. So the doctor will tell you, I've looked at your health and you should bike 30 miles a week, and you put it on the back burner. That's exactly what happens in the SEO audit. Here's all the things you should be doing. They're not that important. You should do them, but and then you do another audit and you discover the same things. That's an SEO audit. That's what most SEO agencies are doing. And the second thing they do is they write a lot of content. I'm a big believer in content, provided it fits within the funnel. If users are looking for this content and this will help them progress towards a conversion, great. If users are looking for this content and now it educates them, not so great. As a classic example of this, for something I did in the last 2 days, something is broken on my car. I Googled for the problem and I read a blog post about how to find the problem. I'm not going to buy the solution from this website that I found because it's a local-based business that is thousands of miles away from me. So thank you for educating me for free, but I'm not a part of your funnel. So you need to create the content that is a part of your funnel because you are paying for it. So that's the accountability piece. So the two things that I would say once you've decided that you do need to be doing SEO is, number one, what is your strategy? And number two is, what do you need to create to achieve that goal you've set for yourself?
So the first kind, where you were talking about writing the content and doing the audit, that resonates very strongly for me, and I think for folks who are listening, because they've heard me talk about activity metrics and how useless those are. So in the tech world, we might say, oh, yes, I've done so many story points, or I've completed my sprint, or I've finished this feature. And I keep telling people not to pay attention to any of those metrics, because those tell you what people did. And the fact that they did stuff is useless, right? It's not giving you any information that's valuable about how that actually changed your business. And it might have been better if they didn't do anything, or it might have been better if they did a completely different thing. And I think what you're telling us is that we need some, what I would call imperfect indicators. You need something that shows you that you're getting a result from your SEO. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. This is a marketing channel. This is something, we talked a little bit about, the World Cup. If you spent $1 million on World Cup advertising and you never checked in to see if you got ROI on that, that would be crazy. But somehow when it comes to SEO, people spend money on this channel and they say, well, I think it's working. I'm showing up on Google. Or they go to an agency, and this is the worst. This is my pet peeve. They go to an agency and they say to the agency, okay, thank you. I've spent all this money with you. What did I get out of it? And then the agency will make something up and say, well, it's a little bit of a black box, and we're working on this analytics and attribution, and they throw a bunch of jargony words at you, but you don't have your answer.
Indeed. And it's the attribution that's so challenging. I mean, if I do put my logo on the backs of players at the World Cup, that's great, but how do I know that that actually produced anybody buying anything? That's the great mystery, the black hole of marketing everywhere. The digital world's supposed to be better, but you're pointing out, and I see it all the time, it's actually not.
Oh, I think you can get attribution from that. So it depends on the motivation. So if you are doing brand advertising in the World Cup, you can actually measure whether people are searching for you during, like you can put ads and you can find if people are searching for you during the game. When they see it, you can look at the locations. So yes, it's hard to know if you generated ROI, but this is part of the funnel piece. If you know that people searching for your business will lead to them knowing about your business, which will lead to them buying from your business, then you can be comfortable with this attribution. But if you say, well, I've gotten people to search for me, but they don't buy from me like that, they need to drive into the store, you've broken
like your car part example. Yep, because you didn't drive thousands of miles to get your car part.
It has to be in the funnel.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So then what kinds of imperfect indicators should you have? So if I have these SEO people doing some work for me and they keep telling me about their activity, I say, no, don't do that. What do I ask them for? How can I tell if I've got good SEO folks who are doing a good job or terrible folks who are wasting my money?
So the first thing is, do they have this conversation? Can they even wrap their head around ROI? Mm-hmm. If you say...
it's shocking that people wouldn't, but you're right. So many of them don't. This happens in technology too.
Most of them will not be able to wrap their head around ROI. So if you're interviewing an agency, you want to hire the agency, and they get back to you with a proposal. Most proposals that I see nowadays start around $5,000 to $10,000 per month. And they say, well, this is going to cost you $5,000 per month. You can immediately follow that up and say, great. What will I get from it for $5,000 a month, and they're going to respond, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this as a deliverable. But you say, okay, that's great. That's what you're going to do. But what am I going to get? Like, what is the ROI
Not
for
the
me?
activity, but what's the result?
Activity. Right. Now, if they can't answer that question, even if they're BSing you, if they can't answer the question, they don't think about ROI. They should at least be able to give you some sort of indication that it's moving you in the right direction.
And what would that sound like? So what would be examples of those kind of imperfect indicators?
Yeah, so I'll get there. So I'll caveat that with much of this is going to take a long time. This could take about a year, right? Could take 2 years to even get there. But the point is that it will drive significant amounts of revenue. So,
and let me just check. You don't mean that it'll take a year or two for them to figure out the ROI, but it might take a year or two to realize the ROI. Is that right?
Absolutely. Well, it can take a year to realize the goal that they've set, but you should be seeing early indications of ROI fairly quickly.
Exactly. What do those look like?
So this is what it would look like. So again, we're talking about a funnel. So I'm doing some stuff. It's most likely at the top of the funnel. And you want to say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to launch 1,000 new pages. I'm a big proponent, and for anyone who wants to check out my book, Product-Led SEO, I'm a big proponent of a lot of pages. The best way of summarizing my approach to a lot of pages is imagine you are investing in the stock market or you're going to a casino. And if you only go with a couple dollars in your pocket, you can only make one bet or a half of a bet. But if
you want to make many bets, you want to spread it over many opportunities. Like an index fund. Yep.
Exactly. So if you have this big bankroll, which is a lot of pages, you have opportunities to really spread that and you have outsized returns. So the more pages, again, not bad pages, the more pages you have on your site, the more opportunities you have for even mediocre wins adds up to bigger wins. So the first thing you're going to be doing is launching pages. So your first indication when you've launched your pages that you're heading in the right direction, does Google accept your pages? Are your pages indexed? The second thing that you're going to be looking at, and again, this is going to grow at exponentially early on. It's not linear whatsoever. So initially you launch the page, you get 1 click or 1 impression, doubles the next day to 2 impressions, 100% growth, keeps growing, thousands of percent, but it's very small numbers. And then it hockey sticks. So you want to look for that hockey stick. So you're getting impressions. Now you're getting clicks. And now, again, imperfect indicator, you want to get a conversion or a couple conversions that are coming from this channel because you've made a bet. I've made a bet that I'm going to create 10,000 pages. I'm going to get 10,000. I'm going to get new relevant traffic, and this relevant traffic is going to convert for me. It starts with...
And let me just stop you for 1 second because I just want to check this. You might have 10,000 pages. Are you expecting all of them to produce conversions or half of them or a tiny percentage? What kind of hit rate would you expect off of those?
In 2 years, at least 80%.
Wow.
But initially, yes, because you're creating high quality pages that match use cases. But initially, it's really going to be all 10,000 pages provide 1 conversion in a single month because that's your indication you're on the right track. Now, this is your sample size. This is your bankroll. So you're going to get a lot of clicks to generate very few conversions, but then it scales. You get a lot of impressions and then a lot more clicks and then a lot of conversions. And you look at classic examples of this, big sites like Amazon. Amazon has billions of pages. Not every person that comes to those pages buy, but enough people find those products and buy and justify all the people that don't buy. TripAdvisor, millions of pages. Zillow in the US, millions of pages, every single address in the United States. Does every single one of those pages generate a conversion? No, I don't even know the percentage of pages, but some of those generate outsized conversions. So that's what you're gearing to. So you're looking
interesting. So you're not suggesting a kind of a long tail argument or a Pareto principle where it's like most of the value comes from a small number of the pages. You're saying you're going to spread it out over lots of really highly relevant things, and then when someone needs that car part, they're going to come and find it. It's going to be relevant, and they're going to be able to click buy, and somebody will come and install it for them. Have I heard that right?
Yes. So it's more than likely not going to be an 80-20 rule. More than likely, it's going to be far more scaled. But we're not creating bad pages. We're creating great pages. We're creating, again, I call it product-led SEO. We're targeting actual users, actual use cases, but we're targeting many of those use cases. So if you think about e-commerce, Amazon sells billions of things. So they're targeting all those billions of use cases instead of saying, well, the most profitable thing we can sell is the Fire tablet. So we're basically only going to be building Fire tablet pages and Echo pages. No, that's not what they're doing. So this is about building out for every single one of those use cases. And the SEO effort you put in is based on the architecture and structure of the site, because you're not going and optimizing each piece of content on its own. What you're doing is you're optimizing everything at scale. So for Amazon, the iPhone page looks the same as the Android page. They put the effort in at the architecture. For TripAdvisor, the London page looks the same as the Paris page.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and then Google can see that and then promote them. And if somebody's clicking on the one, then it can conclude that they'll probably like the other, which then gets you the hit, even though the first one didn't give you the hit. Is that right?
Right. And
fantastic.
And your brand building. So you're, again, the way most people are approaching SEO is they're doing it in a very manual basis. I would like to build a page about hotels in London. So then I go to a content writer and I tell them to write 1,500 words on a hotel in London. Now to do the same thing in Paris, again, repeat the process.
Different content writer, completely different content, different pictures, nothing looks the same, and therefore you don't get the consistency. Okay.
Exactly. So it's SEO at scale.
Mm-hmm. And isn't this going to cost me a lot? I mean, if I'm going to make 10,000 pages and I'm not going to get very many conversions, I'm going to need to make a huge upfront investment, it sounds like. Is that right? Or are there ways around that?
Is investing a bad idea?
No, not at all. I just want to check. So it sounds like this is something that you're going to be successful at if you're willing to spend up front without a very quick return. Is that right?
Yes. So I was being facetious there by saying it was investing a bad idea. It's an investment. It's a big investment, but it's the right investment. So many times, and this could be for startups or smaller businesses, they want to be a little bit more frugal with their investments. But I would say you should be frugal. Absolutely, you should be frugal. And this channel does not allow for frugality if you want to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And many times, again, people think it's free, so they don't want to even be frugal. They just want it for free.
Yep.
It's not.
And they look at an example like Will It Blend, where they did just kind of go in the corner and spend $50 and they happened to make a viral ad. But that's the exception. That's the massive, massive exception. It's not the way to bet.
Exactly. So that what I would say is if you're looking for frugality, paid marketing is a great place. You choose your budget, you choose your conversions, and only spend what you're comfortable. This is a channel.
What you're after.
Yes, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to build something very big, and it's going to have incredible returns. There's a business I've been working with for the last 3 years. They probably spent, I don't know, let's say $1 million on SEO, and they're a big company. Maybe let's go with $2 million on SEO all in. I didn't get all that at all. I wish I would. Mm-hmm. Most of that went to engineers. They've generated more than $1 billion in returns from SEO. It's an e-commerce company. Again, I don't know how much of that's profit, but $1 billion in revenue from their SEO channel. That's incredible.
But they couldn't have spent 2,000 and got to $1 million. It doesn't scale like that. You need the initial investment up front that then gets you the very high returns.
But it was spread out over time. So again, you're looking for those imperfect indicators. Are you on your right track? They're not just diving right into this. Oh, we're going to just close our eyes, spend the money. No, they spent some money and it started going in the right direction. Exactly. So that's, this is the opportunity here. There is no other channel that will continue to drive these returns like SEO. Amazon, of course, works on their SEO on a daily basis. However, though they could fire their entire SEO team and not have an SEO team for a year, and actually they could go even longer, and they're not going to lose what they've built.
Yeah.
So
because of that large investment up front that really helped them. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no other channel like that. You cannot do that with paid marketing. You absolutely cannot do that with social media. Like imagine like firing your social media team for a year and being like, we'll log into Twitter when we have someone to look at this. No. You can't do that.
It's going to atrophy very quickly. SEO continues.
Yes, forever.
Got it. Makes sense. I just want to encourage folks to ask questions. I think I'm getting tremendous education here, but we'd love to hear questions from people who are wondering, why do I have an SEO team? What are they doing? What indicators should I be using in my case? I'd love to see questions. If you don't ask any, we'll just keep going because I'm having fun with Eli here. We're not going to go for too much longer, I think, because we're going to tire him out and wear out his camera. But Eli, I'm curious, what would be a way to mess up SEO? So if I've got SEO and I've got a team working on it, and maybe I've even got some sense of return, but how could I do it wrong?
So this is very, very common, more common than you might think.
Oh, yeah. Tons of money wasted in this area.
Yes. So now let's say you did it all right. You hired the right agency, you built the right website. Your Amazon, I mean, everyone screws it up. Even Amazon screws it up. You're Amazon, you've built the best SEO in the world, and you decide that you would like to launch in Spain. And you already have traffic coming in from Spain to Amazon.com, and you replicate the website into Spanish, and you launch on a new domain, Amazon.es. Very likely, without the best guidance, they will screw it up. They will lose all of their traffic in Spain. This is complicated. So being able to understand how it is that the computers look at these things, how Google's looking at these things, how the flow of the site, how it is all interconnected. If you don't do this very carefully, you will ruin the entire thing. You migrate from one set of site pages to another set of pages, very likely you'll lose the traffic. You can also screw this up by leaning too far into gray or black hat methods. So what that means is there are things we know about the Google algorithm. I would say we don't know most of the Google algorithm. It is many algorithms that has been trained over 22 years of AI and deep learning. The initial Google algorithm, that's what people talk about. They're like, well, the Google algorithm, it ranks content and it uses backlinks, which
Not anymore.
Oh, well, it does, but that was 22 years ago.
Exactly.
It's 22
so much
years
more on top of that now.
Exactly, of hundreds of thousands of engineers training it and billions and trillions of searches training it to improve. So at its core, that's what it does. It uses backlinks. So now people will take this advice, or not advice, best practices, what they think is best practices, and lean too far into it. Google ranks content. Well, let me jam a bunch of content and keywords in here. Google ranks backlinks. Let me go and buy a bunch of backlinks. This is another place you can screw it up, because now you'll get penalized. What some people don't understand is Google is not out there to build this algorithm to rank websites. Well, Google's primary goal is, and I don't know if this is still their mission, but their mission was to organize the world's information. And a side mission is to organize the world's information without you ending up accidentally on a porn site or putting your credit card into a phishing site. So much of what they do is really focused on keeping the search results clean, which other engines did not do. Google does a far better job of that. So while many people will think that Google's focused on organizing results, really they spend a lot of effort in keeping all the bad stuff out there. So now if you end up doing something that indicates you may not be the cleanest actor in the world, you end up in their crosshairs. So that's an easy way to screw things up. The bad people, the phishing sites, they lean into all these things. They hack websites to steal backlinks. Again, I don't think you'll get penalized if you buy a few backlinks, but if you go very deep into this, you will end up on the wrong side.
Got it. Makes sense. So, you've emphasized Google a lot, which is certainly the dominant player. But as you say, a lot of folks these days, at both ends of the age spectrum, for example, are not very much Google users. They might never be Google users. They might be on TikTok. They might be on YouTube. They might be on LinkedIn. How do people work with those kinds of tools, especially the emerging ones, TikTok, Instagram, things like that are coming up behind Google?
So great question. I emphasize Google because Google is the most popular. Google probably represents, I'd say, from the search engines, they based on my own analytics data, 90+%. If you look at the public number, Google says, well, we're only 60%, but that's something that it's a big lie that Google promotes, and Bing promotes that Google is not more than 60%, because everyone wants to support this lie. Google doesn't want government officials digging into their monopoly, and Bing doesn't want to acknowledge to all their advertisers that they have a very small sliver of the market. So, but those are probably true. Now, Google may have come up with the way of organizing search, but it's a really good way of organizing search. So therefore, every other algorithm out there from every search engine is very similar. So they're looking at quality of content, they're using links to evaluate the quality of content, and they're using engagement metrics to evaluate the quality of content.
This is what TikTok's doing, for example. They see how many people on the For You page actually watch for the whole video, and then they put it on more For You pages. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. So Google's a little bit better because they have 22 years of doing this, of really improving on this algorithm. TikTok is going to do the same thing. Yandex is going to do the same thing. Or Bing is going to do the same thing. It just might not be as good. So now from a website perspective, if you would like to be visible in those search engines, do the exact same thing you do for Google. from a user standpoint, they're going to behave on TikTok. Well, TikTok's a little different. They're going to behave on Bing the same way they behave on Google. So I wouldn't alter your strategy whatsoever. The only thing that I would underscore here, and I have a blog post coming out on this, which is we don't live in a Google-centric world. Things will change. So therefore, if you're hyper-focused on Google's algorithm and you do things specifically for Google, that will be to your detriment when Google's no longer the dominant search engine. I'm not one of these doomsdayers that's, Google's about to lose their entire market share. There's all these blog posts about how terrible Google is. No, it's going to be a slower shift over time, like we've seen with TikTok. It's possible that Facebook could launch a new search engine. Right now, Facebook has a search engine, but it's powered by Bing. It's possible that Facebook, in their desperation to find a new market, might say, well, we've got all these users with the apps on their phone. We're doing search. Again, likely, probably not, but they could. Amazon has a search engine. Amazon has an informational search engine, which obviously powers all their devices, and their devices are more popular than Google's devices in the homes. So they have a search engine. Is that right now an advertising-based model like that, just like Google? No, it's not. But could it be? They're doing that. They have search engineers. So again, I don't think it'll change overnight. Apple also has a search engine. They have Spotlight on the phone. Right now, when you use Spotlight, it goes to Google or it goes to Bing. But that
it doesn't have to. It could do something else.
Apple could say, you know what, we've got our search engineers and here's their own search engine. So what I would say is if you're too focused on the Google algorithm, you may miss out when user behavior shifts. However, if you're not focused on the Google algorithm, it's very likely that all those other search engines will mirror what Google does. I still think Google will be better because they've been doing it for longer. But think of search broadly rather than search engine specific. The only exception to this rule is Baidu in China, but China is a whole different topic. Baidu does work differently than all the other search engines, but China
we got a different world if you're going into China.
China works differently.
Absolutely. Exactly. Very interesting, but not our topic today. Okay, good stuff.
Right.
I'm going to give one last call for questions and then ask Eli a final question and let him talk a bit about his book and products as well. Because Eli is someone definitely, if you're in my community, you should know Eli and you should know what kinds of things he's doing. So Eli, I'm wondering what you think the future of SEO is. You've touched on it a little bit. What could change? What's going to be different? Do you possibly in terms of who the providers are? But I'm wondering, pull out your crystal ball. What are we going to be doing in a few years? Are we going to be doing the same kind of search? Are we going to be doing the same kinds of optimization, 10,000 pages, and trying to make them all relevant? Or will we be doing something else? What should we prepare for?
I actually think the 10,000 pages will grow even more because search is going to be more specific. So we've for most of the people that are watching this that are a little bit older than Gen Z, we remember the days of AOL. And in the days of AOL, on AOL, you could own a specific keyword. So you could be cars. You could be cars, you could be dating, and it was just one result. Then what happened is it became 10 results. So search scaled up with Google it became 10 results, and actually way more than 10 results for the people that go beyond the first page. So what's happening is now is that we're moving away from what this word dating or cars many people call a head keyword. We're moving away from this world of like everyone who wants a car will use the word cars. We're moving now into very, very specific search. So my approach of creating lots of pages is, I think, future proof, because all of those pages are now going to match even more specific search. Now, from a technology standpoint, the direction of search, if you look at what Google's doing, they're creating a lot more multimedia results. So they're giving, if you do a search for a person, you get rich tiles. If you do a search for how-tos, you get a combination of video. Audio is not showing up so much in search, but it will as they figure out how to snippetize podcasts and give the exact result from the podcast. So
I've got a company in my community that I know really well called Trint that does search in video for newscasters. So they're trying to find a little clip about something in their giant video archive, and you can go find something like that in a video based on what the audio was. So this is coming.
This is absolutely coming. So this is the future. So the future is the same as the present, which is create a lot of great stuff for your users, but the amount and the diversity of content will change. So it could be podcasts, it could be content, it could be videos, it could be images. I mean, if you think about Google's they're not a dumb company. They see TikTok on the horizon, and they know that Gen Z is looking for that, and they're not going to just give up on that and say, well, there they go. They're going to figure out their own approach to it. Now they've come out with YouTube Shorts, which is their approach to the TikTok content, but that does not solve the search problem, and I'm certain they will solve the search problem.
Amazing. Okay. Well, very interesting crystal ball from Eli. And Eli, I want to thank you for coming on today. I was fascinated. I learned a lot, for example, about how many pages you should be creating. No idea that was the right way to go at it. And especially the 80-20 is not the way to think about it. You want to have many, and you want all of them. I think this is one of the main messages everybody should take away. You want all of those pages to be producing some kind of result and something you can measure with an imperfect indicator. So really great ideas. Really appreciate that, Eli. Where can people find more Eli?
So one last thing I would say on the idea of search is about visibility. Search is not about rankings. So if you're looking for me, you Google for Eli Schwarz, and all of the results will point to me. So I don't need my own website to rank number one because I'm looking to be found. So if you think about a broader search strategy, you just need to be found for your business. So if that means that your Yelp page shows up first, promote your Yelp page. If your Google My Business page, your Maps page shows up first, that's fine. So whatever it is that you're looking for, you're just promoting visibility. So if you're looking for me, Google me. Ideally, I would like you to find my LinkedIn page, but anything you're going to find in the results will also get you to me.
And I've spelled it correctly, have I? I just want to make sure that I'm giving people the right thing to Google for.
Yes, but if you add Eli SEO, I believe that I show up for that too, because again, like I told you, like I told you, Squirrel, like Google's helping us. They're smart. They've got all that deep learning in there. So the last thing I would say is check out my book. It's on Amazon, Product-Led SEO, and that is the broader approach towards thinking about SEO from a strategic standpoint and not from a tactical standpoint, the way many people have been trained to think about SEO. And
fantastic.
Really appreciate you having me, Squirrel. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you join us today, and enjoyed contributions from people. Not as many questions today as sometimes, but we had one person say these were great insights, very useful. He couldn't hang around, so I'm sure he'll be watching us on the recording, as all of you can as well. And of course, I'd love to see you on Squirrel Squadron. We have lots more of these coming up, and opportunities like a strategy workshop at the end of the year, at the end of the month, sorry, and all kinds of other fascinating things coming up soon. So interested to see you at squirrelsquadron.com. Definitely check out Eli and his book, Product-Led SEO, and look up Eli Schwarz. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you not next week because I'm in Miami. You can come see me in person. Love to see you there. And then in 2 weeks, if I remember right, I might be wrong, but I think we have Vesco Duarte on how to run your tech team without estimates and get even more done. So come hear more provocative ideas in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.